Keep going. Here we go. Keep going. Keep going. Come on. Ah, here we are. Yay! Welcome, everybody. This is Actors Talk About Themselves. And a lot of people have been asking, when are you going to interview Dean? We want to hear Dean. Well, there he is.
I bet a lot of people haven't been asking that.
Man, there has been at least like four.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's pretty good.
Or five.
Pretty good numbers.
How you going, bro? Been a long time.
Good, man. How are you?
Yeah, good. Off camera in the green room. Well, it's like a green room, really, like our visual green room. I've just been showing you, showing Dean the garden, which is going pretty good.
It is very green. Yeah, it's pretty roomy as well.
Pretty roomy. I posted on.
I don't understand why the fish though. Why all the fish?
Well, the fish were, I don't know. It's like an outdoor. It's like a pond, but it's like a. Yeah.
What purpose do they serve?
Just be orange.
Does the water get all dirty though?
It does. We did clean it. I actually cleaned the tank. Well, when I say I cleaned the tank, Laura and Rosie cleaned the tank.
Rosie's got a little fingers. Hey.
Yeah.
She gets it.
She only had a couple. So, and she loves them because they're orange, just like her hair. So,
yeah.
But it's kind of cool. And I'm growing veggies, and I built a thing for the thing, so it's all good.
Man, we're trying to do the same thing at our place.
Yeah.
But it just takes time. And then if you get a job and you go away for a month, everything dies.
I know. Being an actor and being a gardener is sort of kind of hard. I've actually hired some kids up the road to water our garden because I'll be in New Zealand over Christmas time. Well, when I say hired, I'm not giving them any money, obviously, but I've just asked them to water my garden, or I'll torch their house. So
that's what we do.
Yeah.
We need to find some children to mow our lawns.
Yeah.
Had a bit of a falling out with our previous mower, I think. It's just not really working out.
Yeah, you need that. I bought a lawnmower, but the only trouble with my lawnmower is that bits kept falling off it, and that's never good. So I went electric. I bought an electric whippersnipper, like a weed eater thing.
Oh yeah,
No,
but then the shit gets everywhere.
Yeah, no, but
it's hard. It's hard being middle class white, eh?
I know. It's a battery operated one, so I get to charge. It's an Ozito, so it's a battery one. But I want to get the lawnmower too and go completely green. And because it stinks and it's loud, the petrol one, and there's bits falling off it basically.
Are you going to HobbitCon this year? No, MagicCon.
MagicCon. Not a MagicCon. I see you're on the list of MagicCon, which is great for the fans. But no, my invitation may have got lost in the mail. But that's fine. It's all new, isn't it?
I didn't mean to make that awkward. What? I'm a bit depressed that you're not going.
I think you and Graham McTavish are going.
Yeah, but we're nothing without you.
I might just turn up. Shall I just turn
We're
up?
like Voltron. We're like Voltron. We're more powerful when you put us all together.
Yeah, I think maybe all of us will just turn up. We'll just arrive. And
then that's a bonus. I asked because I just thought you were going, and I thought we were going to have a conversation about that.
Yeah, but nah. Yeah, but nah. But we'll just turn up and we'll just charge everything to Graham McTavish's room. Easy.
Maybe if we all sent collective emails, like
I sent him one today. I just want professional, cool. Please.
please.
But like a lot of what we're doing in the interviews, I've interviewed the other guys. I interviewed Graham, John, Jed, Adam, Sylvester, mate of mine Bob from LA who kidnapped me in Disneyland, and a friend of mine Heather from Sydney. We're talking about what it's like being life as an actor, and knowing your house and being at your house, I can tell you're not at your house. So maybe you're being an actor somewhere at the moment.
I am. I don't know how much I can actually talk about that though.
No, that's fine. You don't have to.
Because we've only just started shooting. Well, no, actually, no. We're coming to the end of shooting, but they're all quite hushed.
I think using my deductive skills, you're probably somewhere on Earth. I'll just leave it at that.
I'm in the South Island. I'm in Queenstown.
Oh, okay, cool.
And we're working on an Australian TV show, miniseries. It's the second season. I'm having a very good time on it.
Nice. I remember.
I don't know how much I don't know if I can say much about it.
You don't have to say anything. But you're working, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And
it's good.
And I saw the trailer, and I'll add a link. If I go this, then the link's going to come up to the trailer for Pork Pie.
Yeah.
That looked like fun. That looks amazing, dude. That looks absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I was really really happy about how the trailer was looking.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the whole movie yet, but I think we're doing the big press junket all over New Zealand in January.
Yeah.
So it'll be really fun. I can't wait to see it.
Oh man,
Yeah, I had
amazing.
a lot of fun shooting it. So hopefully it all translates. I think it will.
Yeah, I mean, because you used to obviously do a lot of work in New Zealand. What's it like going back, like after, because a lot of the people who watch these interviews are, big fans of The Hobbit. What's it like going back to sort of, because we had a pretty cool time in Queenstown when we were there. Is it a bit surreal going back there?
You know what? Like, honestly, that whole location experience of The Hobbit is quite blurry to me.
Mm.
Do you feel like that? Like, I can't remember if we were in Queenstown for a night or 6 nights.
Yeah. Was that the Martinis or? I
think that was the Martini night. Remember how drunk everybody got so quickly?
Yeah, well, we were staying, with the families with me, we were staying up the hill, so I only had, I think, one and then drove, so, yeah, but I think...
Yeah. I think everyone else knocked out a casual 6.
I think you're only meant to have, 3 maximum, and I think
2's not enough, 3's too many, right? Isn't that
Yeah, apparently, and I think McTavish was on 5 when I got there.
Oh, McTavish was so boozed. He's the happiest drunk too. He's so happy. His inner happiness that he doesn't let out normally just sort of comes to the fore, doesn't it?
I know. He is, but he's a contradiction. I watched something that was an interview that you and Aiden did, and it was talking about when Graham, on his last day, and he just completely lost it. He just completely broke down in tears.
Burst into tears.
Yeah.
Yeah, so lovely.
And you guys laughed. And obviously you guys laughed.
I think we did. Not at him, just because it was unexpected. Because we didn't realize he was actually really crying. We thought he was joking.
Yeah.
He was like, "Oh my God, it's over." And we were laughing because we thought he was doing a...
Yeah.
But actually, no, he was really crying like that.
Yeah, he was.
Immediately felt bad about it.
Which made it even funnier.
But we were filming. We were filming up by Glenorchy.
Yeah.
Not far from where we shot All Bayon's house, remember? Yeah. And you had to sprint. Remember you had to sprint?
I do remember. And everyone was going...
Right towards
the front. Like, see this guy. How's this guy going to go? He's not going to do it.
Into Comet.
Boom.
Smashed it.
Defining moment. I couldn't do that now. My knees are knackered, but,
You know, the weird thing, too, is we probably were here about 4 or 5 years ago, eh?
Yeah. Wow.
Isn't it?
That's insane.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. I bumped into John Callan on the street a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
And we said hi, said see you soon and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, man, it really is over now, eh?
Yeah.
No more premieres, no more press junkets, no more shooting. And it's actually been over for a while, quite a while.
Yeah, it has been. Is it hard being in New Zealand and not have that? I mean, how long did it take you? Because I know it took me a while, and I'm not even in the country. Like I'm living in Sydney, so I could sort of get on with things and not even see stuff. Did it take a little while, or?
Nah. No, I mean, no. No, I get nostalgic about it. Actually, no, that's not true. I did get nostalgic. Well, I went down to when we shot Pork Pie. We shot most of that in Wellington.
Yeah.
And I hadn't been back in Wellington since The Hobbit.
Yeah.
And I got quite sad.
Yeah.
Because I was walking around the streets and I was like, oh. And I got all nostalgic, and like when we were all down there and hanging out and having fun, and it felt like it was never going to end and we're just doing this great job and blah, blah, blah. And then I was in Wellington, there's like no one around. I kept expecting to bump into you guys or, I don't know, Martin going to a record shop or something. No one was around.
I was like that. I think it was Desolation of Smaug, and like I think some of you guys might have been in Berlin, and we had a little gathering in Wellington, and stayed at the museum hotel and did all the stuff that we did. And then afterwards, I was just like, no, it was the night before. I was like a lost puppy, and I was going to all the little places, like the library and the Hawthorne Lounge and all those sort of places we used to go to. I mean, we did a lot of work too, obviously, people, but all those places, expecting to run into like crew, and it was just like, yeah. I ended up going to some karaoke bar by myself and drinking bourbon and singing a few songs. I know it was a bit tragic.
What did you sing?
Oh, everything. I think I did Meatloaf, Paradise by the Dashboard Light, both parts. That's my go-to.
What about that song? Oh, no, Meatloaf didn't sing that. Who sang that song? It is Meatloaf, right? Mm-hmm. You say you better, you better, you better, you bet.
No, that wasn't Meatloaf.
Is that Meatloaf?
No.
Who is it?
No, that was...
You say you better.
You better bet your life. Prog rock, but I can't... Oh, I should know. Someone's going to pull me up on that.
I think it is Meatloaf.
That's disgusting. I worked in radio for like 1,000 years. I should know that answer. Yeah,
The Republic.
yeah, I know. Yeah, but it is funny. I've been back to Wellington since actually, and it's been it sort of wears off after a while. You know, like you get on with other things. I mean, I guess it's been good because you've had some good experiences as well. Because you did Trumbo. Tell me about that. That must have been a bit of a spin out. That was an amazing cast that you worked with.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Now you told me a story about that you went into a van, or you went to a van to go to a fitting or something.
Yeah. So the first day that I arrived on set, and I'd been talking to the director a bit, but I hadn't met anyone else. Yeah. And the first day I arrived on set, and the AD said, "Oh, Jay, who's the director, would like to see you," because I got in my costume, right? He wanted to see how it was looking and if it was right, and have a chat with me. And so I got in the minivan, the minivans, and the AD was like, "Okay, Dan, just 1 second, we just got some other people to travel with you." And I was like, and then all my heroes got into the van with me. Bryan Cranston, John Goodman, Elle Fanning, Louis C.K., Frank, who else? Just like a whole bunch of people. And they sat there, and I was like immediately terrified. I mean, I didn't know what to do. Bryan Cranston I met about 5 minutes before that. He was really lovely.
Yeah, yeah.
But just I think the initial shock of seeing, especially like John Goodman and Bryan Cranston, because like I like Louis C.K.'s stand-up and stuff, but Bryan Cranston and especially John Goodman, they've just been around for so long, and I've just been so aware of them, Yeah. And then I was sort of looking at them like I wanted to like touch them, be like, "You, John." I was like, you sound just like John Goodman. Are you John? Yeah, so that was kind of amazing. But it was an amazing experience. But we shot it down in New Orleans. It was a sort of a medium-sized budget film, which is great. Which means that the actors are doing it really. They're doing it for the love of the project. Pretty much everybody is, because it's not like the kind of a money-making job for these guys. They wanted to just do it because they believed in it. And so it actually felt in a weird way a little bit like a New Zealand film. It wasn't a huge crew. And we shot in New Orleans, which is a really interesting place, and everyone's very relaxed and cool. So after a few days of finding it quite strange, it all became very normal. Like it did on The Hobbit. After a while, it sort of normalizes, and then it just sort of became like another job.
I saw some of your photos. I saw some of your photos and posts on Facebook about being in New Orleans and like the culture and the food or something. I think I might have sent some photos, or you might have sent some through, or maybe I had someone taking photos. I saw.
I posted some Instagram stuff.
InstaWeb, that's it.
InstaWeb, but it was awesome.
InstaSnap.
It was really, really great.
Yeah, and you did a scene with Helen Mirren, right?
I did, yeah.
Wow.
It was near the end of the shoot. So actually, she went like kind of in a cool way. She had spent less time on set than I had at that stage. So I felt quite confident when I met her, which was good because she's supremely confident anyway and very talented. And so I got to really just enjoy doing the scene with her as opposed to sort of like, worrying about too much about how it was going. And like Jay, I've said it a million times to anyone who asks, but Jay Roach, the director, is actually, as well as being a really good director, he's a really, really, really nice guy.
Yeah.
So he was always very aware of people or myself. He was very aware that I was a guy from New Zealand playing Kirk Douglas in a movie with lots of very famous people. Yeah. So he was really good.
Yeah.
And then I did a scene with Helen Mirren, and I really enjoyed that scene, actually. It was a good scene, and I got to tell her to sort of piss off in a Kirk Douglas kind of way, which is pretty interesting. It's interesting, too, playing such an alpha character because it's not like I could sort of sneak under the radar in terms of performance. I had to be sort of, my energy level had to match the confidence of the other people that I was acting with, because that's Kirk Douglas was. He's very, when he was younger, had, big energy about him, quite a lot of bravado and very alpha male and all that sort of stuff. So,
and he had that coolness about him as well, I guess the balance, he had the coolness about him as well.
Yeah, he was pretty cool. I wrote him an email and he wrote back to me.
I remember you saying.
I've got an email on my old email account from Kirk Douglas.
Awesome. And it's like Helen Mirren is like as polarizing as people think. Like because we met Kate Blanchett, and like she was just like there was something about her.
No, I didn't feel polarized at all. I think she was really lovely and quite chatty, focused like everyone is, but not serious. And that was a really good lesson for me too. Was that all these people who are considered serious actors, it's not that they can't do comedy, but they're considered good dramatic actors. They're very light. They're very light energy about them. There was no earnestness or unnecessary earnestness. Which I found really, really inspiring. Like kind of like Ian McKellen. They weren't walking around going, "Don't look at me, don't do." They were just zone with everybody else. And just doing what was needed to make the scene work the best.
Yeah. And it's pretty fair to say there probably wouldn't have been as much farting or PlayStation on Trumbo as there was on The Hobbit.
Not as much, but that's probably because I was one of the young cast members, Not quite as much farting. But, near the end, I reckon, if I'd done the job for another month, I would have been experienced sort of stuff with Bryan Cranston,
Yeah, because Graham told a great story in his interview about he went into my caravan one day and there was me, you, and Aidan playing FIFA. And then he went, got made up properly, got dressed, got on set, waited around for an hour or two, shot, and then came back and we were in the same position that we were. I mean,
how many hours did we clock up on FIFA? It was amazing to think that we had that much downtime that we could, hours.
But that was it. It was like, because people ask, I don't know if you felt it, but people ask, what was it like? And I was like, it was like being at school. It was like a whole lot of little boys, just like, I mean, those 2 years were probably the most fun I've ever had on any job.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Yeah.
We were talking before about did it take a while to sort of wash off? I think that because, I don't know, I speak for you or not, but I was so tired by the end of that shoot and I kept getting sick. And so by the time we finished, I was so knackered that I didn't really think about it ending. But then I found the last couple of years, that's when I'm getting quite nostalgic for it. And me and even Aidan will be emailing me every now and again with saying, "Oh, remember that time that John Callan didn't realize that his jazz was playing outside his camper?"
That's right. It took him how many months?
Years. And it was really experimental, jazz. And we were sort of fuck, John's really cranking out. And he kept turning up louder because he couldn't hear it in his camper. And then he realized that he put it on the external speakers. The worst music you would ever want to hear in the morning.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I think that all those amazing times that maybe sometimes you didn't see a little bit as much because you were quite tired, Yeah. I find I think of them fondly now very much.
Yeah. Because you guys, I mean, I think we're all lucky with the way that they cast that we were quite close in personalities to all our characters, and we gelled as a unit. And that's not to say that everyone was really, really tight best friends, but I mean, because it was like a family. Everyone had their little. I guess it was such an awesome dynamic, and that was the dynamic in the film as well. There's always that respect, and we always got on well, and we'll see each other, all of us, after months or years, and have a great time. But I think you were particularly lucky that, you and Aidan, got on so well and were so close. I mean, to the point that you used to call each other the other person's names. Well, Aidan did anyway. Didn't he used to call himself Fairly quite a lot?
I even called everyone anything.
I remember we were shooting down in Tiarnau.
He didn't get it right. He would never get it right. No one got it right.
But he was in Tiarnau once.
Ant and Dec of Middle Earth.
Yeah, exactly. The Ant and Dec, or the Dylan and Brandon, I used to say for the older generation. But I remember we're in Tiarnau. It was a scene where we shot, and we had 2 days off because I worried it was raining, and then we'd shot the entrance to Mirkwood because I was waiting for fine days.
Oh yeah.
And then we end up having to reshoot it on the back lot during pickups.
That's right.
Because the story changed, and it was raining, so they had to add rain to those days that we shot in the day.
That we shot it previously.
And I remember Aidan going to me, he goes, "So where are we?" I said, "Going to Mirkwood." "All right. Who's that?" I said, "That's Gandalf." "Who's he?" "He's the wizard." "All right, okay." And I know he was falling, but he just
Well,
loved.
we used to love that joke because that developed from Peter Hamilton coming up to me and Aidan and ad-libbing some lines in the back of shot like, boys, you got to get your horses off your blah, blah, blah. And walked away and Aidan turned to me and went, who's that guy? Like, I don't know, do you know him? So then it became the running joke. It was so good. But I remember that day because we weren't really doing it much, really. It was more Martin and stuff. So we were just fucking around the back. And remember, didn't we have like an apple or a banana? We're like seeing if we can pass the banana to each one of us and get it back to the first person during the day.
I remember getting particularly wound up because it was morning or afternoon tea time, and our dwarf minders, and I love them. They did such a great job. It was pretty back. Remember back because Ken used to call them back all the time. And these party pies came out, and I was sitting there hungry, and all my dwarf minders, well, you probably remember, were getting stuck into these pies. I was like, where's my party pie?
Give me my fucking pies.
Yeah, exactly. And I think
we had party pies last night actually on Rap.
Oh,
so good.
Pies. But I remember I'd some mince apparently on my chin, but because it's prosthetic, I couldn't notice it. And I was so excited when I actually got it.
So disgusting.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. That was just crazy. My keep going. Here we go. Keep going. Come on. Here we are. Yay! It's a great shot. My favourite one. Wait,
I'll see if I can make it look like it's frozen. Ready?
Okay. Me as well. My favourite practical joke that you guys used to do was hiding William Kirch's like hammer. Remember in the
and Peter Hamilton's sword. So good.
Where was that? Was that in the armory? Was that in the armory?
We hit his helmet. Yeah, we hit his helmet. So satisfying.
Because I think we're finding things, and Peter
went doing the same thing every take. We took his helmet. He went. So good.
And was William bashing a hole in his one or something? Was he?
Oh, yeah, he was doing something weird, and he ended up using his hands instead of the hammer. Remember, because he couldn't find the hammer. I wonder if has there been any people laughing in the back of shot that didn't get spotted?
I'm not sure.
We were laughing all the time.
I mean, the favorite one was
all the time.
The favorite one was I'd go, oh, the Lonely Mountain, and then you'd go.
Wait, what?
No, you'd go. I love. Don't you love when these come? Like you'd go, oh look, there's a lonely mountain, and I'll go, you're a lonely mountain, and then you'd go,
I'll give you a lonely mountain.
And I was like, hey, Rivendell, you're a Rivendell.
I'll give you Rivendell.
Yeah.
I haven't actually watched the behind the scenes stuff. I quite like to.
Oh, haven't you watched it? Yeah, I've watched pretty much all of them. I think when I got back,
now's a good time to do it because I think I'll be like, I'll get all sad and nostalgic.
It's pretty funny. Like it's funny because you forget what they were actually filming behind the scenes, and then you just remember the days. Like there's some great ones about the barrel, and then I did something that I can't remember doing about. I don't know, talking about how I just won my backstroke heat or something like that, and I just got through the semi-finals. I won my heat, but I think I did enough to get in the finals. So I can't remember. I think it could have been exhaustion.
Yeah, I've seen a little bit of bits and pieces of it, and I remember thinking I can't even remember saying that. Yeah,
I know. It was crazy. And how were you? Like, because I know you got sick at the end. Like, I loved all the training. Like, I love learning. I learned a lot of karate and stuff like that. Did you enjoy all the training?
Yep. Yeah, I loved all that. Yeah, I just kept getting chest infections, but I had an operation after the thing, and it's all fine now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was just
a drag. I remember the first thing I read about you. I was like trying to, we're all like, oh, Dino Goodwin's going to be on it. Let's, find out, because I googled, as you do, you find out everybody's names and all their bits and pieces. And the one thing I remembered was that you were like a black belt in karate or something at the age of 10. Is that true or?
No, it's true.
Yeah, you're a black belt at the age of 10. I just wanted to mess with you.
But then I didn't do it since I was 10. So
Right. Yeah.
I'm hardly deadly.
So from the
but yeah, I did. I got black belt in Shotokan karate
And what about?
when I was 10. Yeah.
A Shotokan.
Shotokan.
It sounds like Shaka Khan. Right.
Shaka Khan. I got in Shaka Khan.
Shaka Khan. Karate.
Yeah, my dad did it. So I used to go train with Dad down at the local dojo.
Yeah.
But, it was very 80s to do karate as well,
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I knew all the katas. I had Nidan, Shodan, Sandan, Tekekosho.
Yeah, I wish I learned a martial art. We only learnt Scrag at school.
What?
Pretty much. Scrag. Kiwi game of Scrag. Basically, it's like rugby, except there's no rules and there's no number of teams. And it's basically running. You give someone a ball, then you run around and tackle the person with the ball, and then it's just the whole idea is ripping the other person's school shirts and stuff like that. So when you finish, that's cool. That's an extreme close up. When you finished your karate.
Like the extras in the back of shot when you're filming and someone's like this?
Yeah.
And everyone's like, fuck off, get the fuck out of here. Hey, I saw this thing today just down the road. Have you ever seen this? There's these people like on a soccer pitch, but they've got those inflatable things around them. So they're standing like this in a big like inflatable ball.
I think
and then
they
just
Zorbs.
run at each other and knock each other over.
Are they Zorbs? Or no, do they roll or do they run? Are they running?
Zorbs, but there's 12 of them.
Yeah.
And they run at each other. So your legs are out and your Zorbs on top of you. And you smack into other people and try to knock them over. It's the funniest thing I've seen.
That sounds amazing.
Have you heard about this?
No.
Yeah. And people are getting smashed, like rolling, and it was hilarious.
Queenstown. Apparently Queenstown is like the boom area of the Southern Hemisphere at the moment.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Aside from Sydney, Melbourne. Yeah.
There's no accommodation in Queenstown at the moment.
Yeah.
None.
Yeah.
Can't stay anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the people who own the place that you're in, when do they know you're there, or are you just like...
No, they kicked me out. They kicked me out. This is not actually... I'm staying at one of the actors' house while I'm away from the hotel, and then I go back to the hotel in a few days.
Oh, right. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's how busy it is.
Wow. Crazy. So where have you been after you finished being like a martial arts black belt? Did you start acting like young, or did you get into it later?
Yeah, I got my first job when I was 12.
Ah, nice.
Maybe 11.
Yeah.
It was called Raider of the South Seas. No, it wasn't. The first one I did was called Rogue Stallion.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Because at this point of time in the interview, I'm going to like go on the internet and try and find some really young photos of you.
Do it. I don't know if you'll find anything though. Raider of the South Seas. That was my first job. Martin Henderson was in it.
Oh right, yeah.
Andy Anderson.
Yeah. Andy Anderson. He used to knock about with my mum in Lower Hutt.
Oh yeah. I saw Ian Mune. He's in the show, and I saw Ian Mune. And went, "Oh, Dean, yeah, you were in Pork Pie." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Ian, were you in Pork Pie? I've seen it, but I can't remember if you were in it or not." And he went, "I wrote it."
Yeah. Because I just saw all the extended stuff with him and Jeff Murphy actually talking about the original, about how they made it. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Crazy.
Pretty rock and roll, I think.
Totally. Yeah. Oh, sweet. So South Seas, and then you did Young Hercules.
That was actually quite late in my career.
Right, quite late. So you were a seasoned professional by the time you did that.
I did a commercial for Snackers Bar. You know what's weird is I think I can still. I probably can know. I think I still know all the words. I think I was 12 or 13. I had to say it so many times. And I was sitting on a wall. Oh yeah, I did. Okay, I was sitting on a wall and I went, "You know what mums are like? Always trying to give you things that are good for you. Like these Snackers." She says that because they're covered in chocolate and yogurt flavors, that I won't notice all the healthy bits inside. So I play along. "Oh, Mum, not those healthy Snackers again." That kind of stuff. Truth is, I really like that Snacker taste. And so do all my mates.
And cut.
Isn't that fucking crazy? And scene. Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
Nice. Amazing. I probably should remember that.
No, I mean, just a kid on a wall eating a Snacker bar. I got destroyed mercilessly at school, mocked, ridiculed. And then I did an Anchor Butter.
Did you get? An Anchor Butter? Was that
Yeah,
like
you know,
that wasn't the series of Anchor Butters?
Yeah.
You were in
I
that?
made my first on-screen kiss with the lead girl in it.
Really?
And I remember it because I remember our tech drawing teacher was a prick. He said, "Oh, still there?"
Yeah.
Yep. He was just a dick. And he embarrassed me in front of the whole class. And he goes, "Oh, Dean, I saw your ugly mug on the TV snogging that Sheila last night." And I just went bright red, because I was like 14 or 15. He said, "How much did you get to do that?" And I said, $3,000. And he went, "Oh, what?" Totally shut him up.
And
Such a satisfying moment.
by the way, for people who don't live in New Zealand, that's in New Zealand that's called a compliment. By saying those sorts of things, that's how isn't that how Kiwis compliment each other a lot of times?
No, he was being a jerk.
Oh, he was. Okay.
That's a vulnerable 15-year-old.
So that was that big family. There was the family, the whole family,
Yeah,
whole family.
I just came in for one of those series and took it to the ball in that car.
Because the lady who played the mum, what was her name? I've seen her in Sydney a couple of times.
Yeah, she moved to Australia. Well, maybe she wasn't.
No, she was Kiwi.
Yeah, and then I did Young Hercules, 19. Right. I was 20? Yeah. 19, 20?
Yeah. And when, because you spend a lot of time, most of your time doing photography now, when did you take that up?
I always did. I did it at school. I set up, when I did that commercial, I set up a little darkroom at my house.
Nice.
So I was developing photos and stuff since 16, 17.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then when the first time I went to LA and I wasn't working much, I painted and I took photos. Because actually, weirdly, I made money from it.
Yeah, right.
Two things I never thought I'd get any money from, I actually made money from.
What do you enjoy most?
I like them all, really. Yeah, I like them all. I like painting. I like painting a lot. But then photography is really fun. Portraits, too, because people have such interesting faces.
I think all that stuff feeds into each other. Like, I've been reading these books, like one called The War of Art and all these things. And, and I think a lot of it, I like cooking. Like, I enjoy cooking. And to me, cooking's like
Wait, The War of Art? The Art of War?
No, The War of Art.
Oh, The War of Art, okay.
Yeah, it's by a guy called Stephen Pressfield. And it talks about resistance and, resisting your creative endeavors and stuff like that. And it's really interesting. And I find by cooking is like it feeds my artistic side because I enjoy it and I find that really creative. Even gardening or doing the veggie garden or there's all sorts of stuff like that. Yeah, I've always wanted to do photography.
Feeds the same source, right?
It is. It does.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like the other thing we do on this show, Adam Brown said I was like the Graham Norton of the internet. I know.
Good on him.
I don't even think he was asking for anything. So it was a.
I miss Adam. I haven't seen Adam for ages.
He was amazing.
Last time I saw him was in LA.
Yeah, he told a great story about when he did the talk at his school, and he did a motivational talk at his school about because I asked him words of advice for actors, and he goes, "The only time I did that, I did a talk at my school, and in front of the mayor and the principal, he just said, well, just don't fuck up.' That was his words of advice." Yeah.
Don't fuck up.
Yeah. You got a ton of stories. We can go on for 2 hours talking about your stories. What was the time that you got stuck in the letterbox? That's the story I wanted to ask you.
Okay, it's a long one though. Do you have time?
Is it a long one?
Well, I'll try to truncate it, but it's fairly long. There's a lot of nuance and subtlety in it.
Maybe we'll do a Sweden. Okay.
I was doing a job in Australia.
Yeah.
And I was about 19, and it was a telly movie.
Yeah.
Tim Curry was in it. It was called Doom Runners. Google it. Yes. Amazing.
Yeah.
Maybe the best thing you've ever seen.
Yeah.
So we're doing night shoots, and I was very, very tight. And I was flatting with this woman called Maggie, who I was 19, and I would have put her maybe 50 or 60. But because I was 19, I don't know, she might have been on 40. Right. Anyway, she was Irish, and she, get on it a bit, as the Irish do. Anyway, so I got home. It was a Sydney, it's down in Double Bay. It's those real classic Australian brick apartment blocks, right?
Yeah.
So I went in and I realized I left my key, I hadn't packed my key, and I was inside. So I started calling on my phone, and I could hear the phone ringing inside the apartment. But Maggie was, she was asleep. It's 4 a.m. Anyway, so all I could think about was getting into bed and going to sleep. And next to the front door, they've got like a little box about this big. You can open it from outside, and you put like the milk in there. And then from inside, without opening the door, you can open another little door and reach in and grab the milk. So it's like this little, like L corridor.
I know. I've actually lived in one of those buildings. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's about that high.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not a big man. And so I crawled in and I thought, I reckon I can crawl around and reach up and grab the door handle and open the door handle, right? Open it and slide myself out and get back into the house.
Easy.
So it was not a bad plan, except that as I was reaching around to get to the door handle, it was like this. Like, this is the door handle. My hand was like this. Like, it was just like just not quite there. I couldn't quite get it. I'm like, fuck, I can't get it. And then I realized that I was like, oh, okay, well, I better get out and think of something else. And then I realized that I was hanging halfway out like this, right? And I had nothing to push against, you know, because the wall was over there. So I was hanging out and I couldn't push against anything. And I was like, fuck. And I was like, what do I do? And I didn't know what to do. And I had a moment of sort of freaking out because I was like stuck. I couldn't get out. Because, you know, you need to push back against something. Anyway, so I started yelling. I started screaming, Maggie, fucking wake up. So Maggie eventually does wake up. And the funny thing was she's like a bleary-eye, and she stumbles past me, doesn't even see me sticking out of the wall, and opens the front door and looks out. Like, where is that coming from? Like, who's yelling? Who's yelling Maggie? And then obviously she walked right past me. So I was like, oh, Maggie. I was like, Maggie, I'm down here. And she turned around and went, oh, Jesus Christ. And I was like, Maggie, I'm stuck. I can't get out. And she was like, oh, my God. And so she was like, okay. So she grabbed me, right?
Yeah.
And tried to pull me out. And she couldn't. So basically the little tunnel is like an L shape, right?
Yeah.
So my body was like a little Allen key. So I was just wedged. I couldn't get out. So and then the other end, my feet are sticking out like this, right, into the lobby. And she couldn't, I was wedged as.
Yeah.
So I was like, what are we going to do? And she goes, well, I'm getting a drink. So she got a whiskey.
Yeah.
And she sat down next to me and she was like, what are we going to do? And I was like, I don't know. But at this point I was getting like, it was really starting to get quite sore because I was just hanging up on my. So she said, we're going to have to call the fire brigade. So they called the fire brigade. And so these fire engines turned up at about 5, 6 in the morning at the apartment block. And, of course, everyone saw the sirens and the boot, and they were like, what the fuck? So they all went sprinting down into the lobby, and then they saw my feet sticking out of the letterbox. And people thought it's like someone had been murdered and stuffed into the letterbox. And then the fireman walk up to me, and he, like, total deadpan Australian, looks at me and goes, oh, yep, bit stuck. And I was like, yeah, I can't get out. And he went, oh, yep. Didn't say a word, but then just as he turned away, I caught like just a little tiny smile as he turned away. And then he was like, oh yeah, I'll just pull you out. They couldn't do it. They had 2 guys on my legs trying to pull me out, and I was stuck. So they then had to saw a hole in the wall so that they could straighten my body out more and then pull me out. So they finally got me out about 2 hours later. So that was it. That was my stuck in a letterbox story.
Did you ever have to pay for the hole?
You know what? I think I did.
Right.
I think I did. It was only a couple $100, I think, at the time. But
you'll have to send me the.
Luckily, it was kind of amusing. But yeah, I got stuck in a freaking letterbox.
You'll have to.
And I've never been stuck before. Never been stuck. It's a bad feeling. It's a bad feeling because you can't do anything.
No. Well, you'll have to email me the address so I can go because I had a mate who used to live in on those exact sort of buildings. So I'll look for one that's got a big hole in it.
Double Bay.
Yeah, I have a feeling I know where it could be. There's a few of them around that area. Well, like finally, we usually finish up with some words of advice for any young actors. Aside from if you're working in Sydney, don't try and plumb through a letterbox when you've lost your keys. What would your words of advice be?
Don't do that. Bad idea.
Just don't do that. That's good advice. Any other gems? Don't drink more than 3 martinis, perhaps?
Yeah, I don't. Joel Tobin and I once drank 7 martinis.
Right.
When we were younger. Ooh. But we didn't realize we'd drunken that much because after 4, we were out. And we were so drunk that we didn't realize that we'd drunk 3 other martinis. And Joel was looking at me going, Dean, someone spiked our food, man. I don't feel good. because he was so drunk. He didn't realize that he'd drunk all the martinis, and that's what was making him feel sick. He thought he'd been food poisoned. Okay, so words of advice. I don't know, man.
It's got to be better than Adam Brown.
I think perseverance. There's a lot to be said for perseverance, right? Yeah.
And don't drink 7 martinis.
And actually, reading Michael Caine's autobiography is actually a stellar idea.
Ah, nice.
I read it when I was young, and he was so funny and so humble, and he didn't really start working until he was in his 30s. And so it's quite a for the young anxious actor, it can be quite a grounding experience.
Cool, man. Thanks for talking about ourselves.
Don't only act, right? Do something else as well.
Yeah, exactly. That's good. Thanks for talking about ourselves, bro. Awesome. Yeah, nah, sweet.